so excited about it.
Oops.
Because I mastered that.
Come back. How do I get you to maximize?
Human resource management is the process through which a company identifies, recruits, hires, positions, and manages its employees. Human resources departments usually formulate, enforce, and oversee the company's HR policies, which control personnel and how the company interacts with its staff. First, let's define HRM. Human resource management is an approach to running a business that views its workforce as its most valuable resource. The term human capital describes a company's workforce value. HRM's primary purpose is to help businesses meet their immediate and long-term objectives by reducing risk and increasing ROI. Nature of HRM. Human resource management is founded on guiding concepts and practices that help businesses succeed. HRM is not limited to an organization's single division, but serves as a cross-departmental role that oversees the management of all employees, from entry-level workers to executives. Human resource management revolves around its most valuable asset, its employees. HRM is a field that focuses on helping people both professionally and personally. This facilitates cooperation between members of an organization to realize shared objectives. To keep up with the ever-shifting market and fiercer levels of competition, all production elements must be constantly updated and enhanced. Human resources, too, must be consistently upgraded or replaced to keep up with rising levels of competitiveness. As a result, it's something that goes on all the time. It is an essential component of running a business. It has as its primary goal the maximization of output by employees. It seeks to maximize productivity by focusing on the people who make the organization tick. Scope of HRM. The term human resource management scope describes the full range of HRM-related pursuits. The following describes these pursuits. Human resource planning, also known as HR planning, is a method used by businesses to determine how many open positions there are inside the organization and whether or not there is an abundance or deficiency of available employees. Job analysis is a crucial part of HRM. A job analysis provides an in-depth explanation of each position in the business. The company creates ads and places them in newspapers based on the results of a job study. This is the process of seeking potential employees. Recruitment and selection is a crucial part of human resource management. It involves receiving applications in response to an advertisement, conducting interviews, and ultimately choosing the best candidate for the job. After a candidate pool has been narrowed down, an initiation or orientation session might be held. Aside from its significance, this aspect of HRM is also worth discussing. During this time, employees are also introduced to one another, given a brief history of the company, and given information about the company's culture, values, and work ethics. Each worker participates in a training program designed to improve his work productivity. Existing, highly experienced staff members are also offered training. Refresher courses are designed to do just that. A lot of money is allocated to training and development programs in the organization. After an employee has been on the job for about a year, the HR department will conduct a performance review to evaluate how well they've been doing their job. Pay raises, bonuses, and promotions in the future are all determined by these evaluations. Compensation and other perks are subject to several different sets of regulations. Human resources oversees salaries and benefits packages. Maintaining a healthy workforce requires a consistent dose of inspiration. The Human Resources Division is responsible for exploring alternative techniques of inspiration. As an aside, health and safety rules must be adhered to for the sake of the staff. Human Resources is also responsible for this. The HRM discipline of keeping cordial connections with union members is also crucial. The corporation will benefit from this since it will reduce the likelihood of strike-related lockouts. Importance of HRM. It's common knowledge that companies' human resources are its most valuable and most troublesome asset to manage. Human resource management's goals include identifying staffing gaps and developing and retaining top talent. It's important to note the breadth of HRM's purview, so it's tough to pin down a single definition, but we can put them in one of the following categories. HRM relates to employee administration, workforce planning, recruiting and selection, development, introduction and orientation, promotion, remuneration, layoff and reduction, and employee output are all examples of direct human resource management. The larger goal here is to measure personal progress and efficiency, both of which have knock-on effects on the growth of the business. HRM's role in employee benefits. This subfield of HRM is concerned with workplace perks and comforts. Security assistance, healthcare, welfare benefits, social welfare, and health services are only a few of the many facets of this umbrella term. Appointing safety officers and improving and protecting against unsafe working conditions are also addressed. It is also connected to staff management, guidance and counseling, report building, and training and development. It ensures the well-being of your workforce. It is essential to identify the genuine requirements and work with management to provide for those needs. HRM and workforce development, maintaining internal peace and harmony necessitates tactful engagement with labor or employee unions, hearing out their concerns and finding amicable resolutions to any issues that may arise. It's the study of how to deal well with your coworkers and keep the peace in the workplace through collective bargaining, amicable conflict resolution, and other methods of preserving positive employee-employer relationships. How does HRM work? Human resources are effective because of the hard work of HR specialists who study human resource management before hiring. While a single or small team may handle human resources at a small business, a large corporation would have a dedicated HR division complete with a chief people's officer, HR director, and other administrative positions. Similarly, small and medium-sized businesses, SMBs, can rely on HR generalists to oversee all aspects of the employee lifecycle, including hiring, payroll, performance reviews, and the creation of corporate rules. In contrast, large companies typically have experts, each taking on a specific task. Each area is separated so that just the correct number of workers may be sent out to meet each requirement. Objectives of HRM. The HR process begins at the top. The successful completion of organizational goals is a primary HRM focus. To succeed, HRM must ensure that all available human resources are used to meet organizational needs and aims. HRM success and goal attainment hinge on two primary considerations: employees and the workplace. Human resource management and organizational effectiveness are primarily defined by workplace culture. Facilitating effective team coordination is a crucial function of human resource management. Enterprise-level teams require simple methods of communication. Specifically, HR needs to ensure a tool is available to help with the integration. Workforce effectiveness and performance are two fundamental factors to focus on to accomplish even the most fundamental goals of any firm. When employers invest in their employees by providing ongoing training and career advancement chances, those workers feel secure in their jobs and more prepared to take on leadership roles. Human resources professionals' primary role is to maintain progress along the desired course. Don't let negative energy or distractions interrupt your focus. This requires constant attention and encouragement from the workers. Where can HR find inspiration to excite their staff? Provide them with abilities. Consider their point of view. Make weekly meetings and decisions inclusive. If they aren't you, it doesn't matter. Accept them. Never let morale dip. Rewards for employees, such as annual reviews based on performance, can also be beneficial. Human resource managers have many goals and responsibilities, including developing leaders, creating a safe and welcoming workplace, and keeping current staff members. An essential goal of human resource management should be the maintenance of a happy and productive workforce. Compliance and data management for the corporation and its employees are two examples of functional and organizational goals. It's a significant task for HR departments and managers to manage payroll compliances and maintain the organization free of penalties and fines. Skills and responsibilities of an HR manager. The human resources manager oversees the company's hiring practices, payroll, employee benefits, and any efforts related to employee safety in the workplace. The HR manager is responsible for the administration of employee benefit programs, as well as the sourcing, screening, and hiring of new personnel. A human resources manager's job description should emphasize the importance of a candidate with excellent interpersonal, communicative, and collaborative abilities due to the role's emphasis on dealing with people. It's also crucial that they have a thorough familiarity with the most recent trends in the sector about non-monetary perks and complete awareness of the most recent accolades in the field. In this position, education plays a crucial part. Human resources experience is preferred, coupled with at least a bachelor's degree in HR or related subjects such as business. What's with the fancy human resource management title anyway? The term management describes making the most of a company's limited resources to achieve its goals. Therefore, human resource management aims to ensure that the business's existing human resources are used effectively and that any recruits add value to the organization. The construction industry is the best example of a sector experiencing severe scarcity of competent laborers. According to analysts, this trend is predicted to triple over the coming generation from its current 30%, negatively affecting the sector's total productivity. Many experts argue that human resources are becoming less important as machines and technology take over more and more tasks. Companies are always looking for talented, knowledgeable, and certified people to ensure the company's continued growth and success. Still, machinery and technology can only be created by humans and require human intervention to function properly. For what reason should an HRS be implemented? Human resource management systems are built to cater to HR's fundamental requirements and transform routine administrative tasks into strategic enablers of company value. These data-driven, people-centric tools can help HR professionals do the following: strengthen the procedures for employing new employees, improve your personnel management skills, maximize the efficiency of your personnel, achieve higher levels of employee participation and retention, reduce unnecessary expenditures, use evidence to guide your choices, guarantee conformity with applicable rules and regulations. Cloud transformation. Human resource specialists have risen to prominence in the C-suite because of HR's critical role in ensuring the firm's continued viability, both today and in the future. With improved familiarity with digital and cloud-based technologies, they will be better equipped to make immediate contributions toward the development and upkeep of a highly efficient workplace tomorrow via cloud-based HR management tools. Human resources must upgrade and transform to keep up with the times and meet the needs of the business. A crucial part of HR's change agent role is ensuring the department uses a cloud-based human resource management system, HRMS, to oversee all aspects of the employees' careers. Okay, that's all I have for you folks. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video, and I hope you find it informative. Please use the like button to show your approval and subscribe to my channel.
All right. So just a little overview of the human resources function. Oops, get that out of there. And the reason that it's important is because most payroll departments fall under human resources. And so it is important for those who are interested in payroll or working in payroll to know exactly what it is that a human resources department does. Now, if you've ever been an employee, if you've ever been hired, if you have ever filled out a job application, if you've ever received a paycheck, then you have been you have interacted in some way with somebody that is working in human resources. Now, if it was a small business, that may not have been their title. Human resources, if it was a large company like Wells Fargo, they will have a dedicated human resources department to handle all of the human resource functions. But that human resource function is performed at every business. It just is going to look a little bit different depending upon the size of the business. So the main functions of human resource, and they had a lot more categories than what I have down here, but this is generally what human resources does. And if you look at it, it's essentially the life cycle of an employee, right? From the very start of somebody's employment to the end of their employment. So some general categories, they're involved in recruiting employees. What would be involved in recruiting an employee? If you want an employee, what are you going to do? Okay, so a job posting might be one, and that's done also when I was young. It was looking in the want ads. Those were the job postings. Nowadays, people go on to LinkedIn and Indeed and all sorts of different things. Any other ways that you can think of that employers may be involved in recruiting? Job fairs, right? So when you're at those job fairs, chances are the person that is sitting behind the desk that is trying to get you to come and be interested in their company is probably from the HR department, right? Somebody that human resources has brought out, maybe somebody from marketing as well, but usually from human resources. Any other ways that you can think of that employers will recruit or that to perform that recruiting function? I'm sorry? Internship? Yeah, they may be in charge of promoting internships, right? So internships may be another way. Maybe internship marketing. But the actual internship, that would be more like... Yeah, like if you're doing an accounting internship, you'd be working with the accounting department, but the human resources department certainly may have been the one to get the word out about and market that internship, right? So a few ways that they do recruiting. What about selecting? Interviews. Right, and interviews these days, especially, again, it's going to depend on the size of the organization. You may be looking at a series of interviews, and you may be starting with somebody from HR, but then moving into maybe if you get a second interview, it's going to be with somebody different from the actual department. So HR will probably screen applicants, right, to make sure, because a lot of times when there's a job opening, people who really aren't qualified for the job will still apply. HR will be there to screen those applicants so that the department, when they do their main interviews, they're not interviewing. If it requires a bachelor's degree, they're not interviewing people that don't have that bachelor's degree, right? So they'll help with the screening as well. What about orienting? How would they orient? And this is orienting the new employees. You're a brand new employee, your eyes are wide open, you have no idea what's going to happen. What's that? So help them organize the orientations, right? Yeah, they'll put them together. And that may be formal or informal. Again, a lot of times that depends on the size of the organization. So DMAC, when new faculty are hired, they go through a 3-day orientation at the beginning of the fall semester. If you're hired in January for the spring semester, you'll still get a mini orientation, but then you'll have to go through that big 3-day one in the summer, right before the term starts. So they have a very organized orientation. They also have that first year that you're hired, they have 4 different meetings and orientation sessions that you are still required to attend during the year. So that orientation is actually pretty complex and pretty detailed. Other companies, especially if they're small, they may just be, hey, here's Jim, the receptionist. Here's Mary in accounting. Here's Joe, he's our senior partner. So it could be very informal, but they're in charge of making sure that the employee becomes familiar with the goals of the organization, right? Familiarizing not only the procedures, the policies and procedures, but also the goals. So policies, procedures, and the goals of the organization. So what is it we're all here for? What is our main focus, and how do we do it? And what are the rules that we've set in place in order to accomplish that? And then they're also in charge of training. Now, training is different than orienting. Orienting is becoming familiar with the organization. Training would be more becoming familiar with the job or getting better at the job, right? So can you think of some examples of training, what HR might do? You can think of your own experiences, or like Wells Fargo, did you have training that they would provide?
Yeah, like when I first started, there was like a class that training, and then like moving from department to department was more like a side-by-side.
Okay, and then and that one might be also kind of overlap with the orienting, that side-by-side training. But as you stayed there, did they have additional training? Can I ask what your position was?
Yeah.
Or is?
In the legal department as well.
Okay. And so I'm sure that in that line of work, there are a lot of regulatory changes that take place. Right? It's not going to remain the same static rules one year to the next. So did they provide some sort of updated training as well? Yep. So, quarterly, annual type trainings as needed. So if something big comes up, some new regulation that is going to affect your job, they may interrupt your job and say, hey, we need to go do this training. Yep. If you're looking at getting into the accounting profession, just looking at my time here. If you're looking at getting into the accounting profession, you will have a lot of updated training. because it's changing all the time. But HR would be in charge of providing that or arranging it. They may not do the training because they may not be experts in the field, right? An HR person isn't going to be a legal expert, or they're not going to be an accountant. But they would arrange it and make sure that that training occurs and occurs when it needs to happen. Oftentimes there are deadlines that are required with ongoing training. And then the fun one, terminating. So with the HR's responsibilities with regard to terminating would be highly correlated with whatever the laws are on terminating personnel. They may not be the ones that actually do the termination or even processing retirements or things like that. But if we're talking about an involuntary termination, they probably wouldn't be the ones actually performing it necessarily, but they would be the ones that are processing it. So, final paperwork, stuff like that. So what's offboarding? Exactly. Offboarding, final paperwork. Right, exactly. So any disputes, of course, legal would get involved with that as well. As far as like the final paycheck goes, that's where the payroll department would come in, but HR would inform the payroll department that we're going to need to process a final paycheck, depending upon what the laws in the state are. There are some states that require employees who are terminated, they get their paychecks immediately, their final paycheck immediately. Other states, it's just processed with the next regular payroll. So it just depends on what state you live in. But lots of things that would go along with that termination as well. In addition to all sorts of other things, as they had mentioned here, benefits, processing benefits, so health insurance, retirement plans, all of that kind of stuff. And then where payroll fits into all of this is that it is one of those, it would be considered a benefit that they're administering, right? Getting paid is a benefit of working. It's usually the main benefit of working. But that's why the payroll function would then be underneath the human resources function. Okay? Any questions about that? These are kind of the main categories. The reason I want to focus on these main categories is I have another little project for you that I was going to do in class, but obviously I've talked too much. Or we had a good discussion earlier, and so that went a little bit longer. So I'm going to give these to you to work on over the weekend. And this is, I'll read it to you here. So it says in your study group, but go ahead and just do it individually, okay? So choose one of the HR duties that we outlined. And it says here on the PowerPoint, I just didn't use the PowerPoint, but these are the duties. And I have them listed here as well. Recruiting, selecting, orienting, training, and terminating personnel, and answer the following questions about that duty. So things like 3 ways in which that duty affects the long-term health of a company. What might be some unintended consequences to the employer and employees if the duty is performed poorly or is not performed at all?
You said pick one, right?
What's that?
You said pick one or pick 3.
Pick one of those, but answer these questions. Okay. Are there any laws that we discussed that impact the performance of that duty? For example, we talked about a lot of laws, anti-discrimination laws, that would affect how employees are recruited and selected, right? That might be a good, just sort of as an example there. You're welcome. How does the selected HR duty interact with other HR responsibilities? What impact does this interaction have on the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the HR department? What role does communication play? Did I give everybody one? Okay. What role does communication play in the successful execution of this duty? And what strategies could be implemented to improve communication between HR and other departments? How can technology be used to enhance the performance of this duty? And what are some potential risks associated with relying heavily on technology in this area. Okay, so some things to think about. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about these then on Monday when we come back. Like I said, Monday is going to be the last day that we talk about chapter 1, and we'll finally start to get into some payroll. No calculations really yet, but we'll talk about the functions of the payroll department, and we've got to take a look at that payroll register and employee earnings record as well. So we'll look at those things also. Okay? But we're almost done with all the background stuff to get actually started in the calculations. So, all right. It's snowing.
Oh my God.